to the Kingsway Podcast. Excited you are here. We have a couple guests with us today. Hi. This is Luke and Keila Palmquist, the newest members of the Kingsway staff. And yay! So by the time you're watching this, it is September, so they've been here for almost a month at that point. So by the time this probably comes out. So at this point, you may be fired. I'm just kidding. You'll be
may not be here anymore. I'm just gonna go.
Make sure. Yeah, there you go. So here's the cool thing about the podcast is we get to ask and talk and kind of have a conversation, and people that maybe it would take them longer to get a chance to sit with you one-on-one or know your story, know a little bit about you, they can check out the podcast and feel like they know a little bit more about you quicker. Mm-hmm. And the other side of it, because Luke, you're kind of homegrown, in the sense that whether you want to claim it or not, in spite of this being your home church, you're a pretty good person, and you love Jesus. Yes. And you also married someone that has an incredible story and also is new to Kingsway. And so there's just a beautiful, I think, kind of narrative that we get to talk about, especially because we partnered with you guys and got to kind of release you this last May to go to Kenya for almost 3 months, like 2 months or something? 2 months.
2 months.
Yep. It was so cool. So just real clear and quickly, Luke is coming on in kind of two different roles. One is kind of to pay the bills and just going to serve and clean the church a little bit, which is awesome. But the role we're really excited about is he's going to be our missions coordinator. So he's partnering with our local and international ministries that we partner with financially and are hoping to engage with more now that COVID's kind of settled down, even in a more participation way. So I'm excited about that. You have some vision and stuff. I'll let you talk about that in just a second. And then Kayla is stepping up and is going to be basically our junior head director, working with John and Katrina and Wednesdays and doing a bunch of stuff. Both of you are musically talented as well, and I'm sure there'll be places that you'll serve at times in doing that. But we're excited to have you do that. And you actually spoke at our camp.
I
was
did.
Just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Just enjoyed it.
2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah. Feels like forever ago. But it wasn't that long ago. Well, let's start this out. Like, just give me a little bit of history of like where you're from. And I know I spoiled a little bit of your story, but there's more to the story than just a church. So a little bit of that, and then how you feel like Kingsway's kind of become a part of your story. So talk to me a little bit about where you grew up and how you feel like you came to faith and how you got here. Whichever one wants to go first.
Ladies first.
No.
Ladies first. Ooh.
No.
Good move.
You go. You're ready to go.
Okay. Yes, I've grown up in Mount Vernon my whole life. Started here at Kingsway, would lead on Wednesday nights worship and Sunday mornings until I went to college at Ozark Christian College in Joplin, Missouri. We both just graduated this past May. And so that's where I've been, what I've been doing. Got back from Kenya a month ago. Well, 2 months ago, I guess, whenever this comes out. So yeah, I've been doing that. And then we'll both be at Keen Bean as well. Split between here and there. So that'll be fun if you come and see us there.
Just
say
working
hi.
all the jobs.
Yes. All the things. Yeah.
And you have a few brothers and sisters?
Yes, youngest of 6. Most of the, well, not most. Half of them, I guess, came to Kingsway, I guess, by the time we were here.
Nick graduated, like, right when I came here.
Yeah.
So, like, it was, like, one of those, Nick came, and I didn't have a graduation gift for him, and I still think about that in my nightmares. Like,
How dare you.
You can
Sure,
ship
he
him one.
remembers
I had
it,
gifts
too.
for everyone else, not him, and I was like, Pro youth group moves.
Yeah.
I forgot yours.
Yeah.
I never had it.
Yes.
I'm an idiot.
So they've been through, and my parents have been here for a long time. So, yeah.
Like 20 years?
At least, right? 20
Something.
years?
Yeah.
You were
I've
what,
been
like
here
I was like-
14.
4
I was like-
or 5?
Yeah, like 6. I was a nasty
You were
little
always
kid
the
running
third
around.
grader
Nasty
that
little
wanted
kid.
to be a 5th grader.
Take me to
And
youth.
then a 5th grader that always wanted to be an 8th grader.
Yep.
And an 8th grader that always wanted to be in high school.
Yep.
Like, you're always like, just let me be with the older people.
Yep.
I like them better.
Now you are old.
I know. I'm 23. Wish I was 26. So it just keeps
Do you?
going.
Wow, not me.
Golden string.
Not me.
So, Kayla, tell me a little bit about your history, because I think it's a little bit more of an eclectic story.
Yes. Okay. So I was born at a very young age.
Yes. Yes, you were. Some would say a baby.
I was born in Mexico.
Uh-huh.
I grew up there. My family's from Mexico.
Now, Mexico's rather large.
Yes. We are from San Luis Potosí.
And that's middle Mexico
Ish.
City-ish?
Yes. I think it's, I want to say north, 5 hours of Mexico City. But I could be lying. I don't know.
Towards the coast or just straight north?
Just straight up.
Okay, cool. All right.
And so that's where I'm from. That's where my family's from. Lived in Mexico, not there. We lived in Piedras Negras, which is bordering Eagle Pass. I don't know. Some people know sometimes when I say that.
I do not know that.
Okay.
I would.
Well,
I would love to.
that's where I grew up.
Okay.
Yeah. We lived there for I was about 9 when we left. My dad is a pastor, a Hispanic missions pastor in Texas, Amarillo, Texas. And yeah, lived in Mexico until he got this job, moved, did all the fun things. We became citizens in 2018, which was my first year at Ozark. Yeah. So I also ended up going to Ozark, didn't initially want to go there. And then God was like, you're going there. And it ended up being exactly what I needed to do and exactly where I needed to be. And that's where we met. And
because music was a pretty big thing in your life for a long time.
yes, I was going to pursue music and go study at the Hillsong College in Australia.
Yeah.
And then my parents were like, let's apply for a citizenship. And I was like, you've had like 10 years to do this and you're doing it now.
Yep.
What a coincidence. And so my mom claims that it wasn't to keep me from going to Australia, but I don't fully believe her. Because
Yeah, it's probably a byproduct.
yeah, we applied in November of 2017 and I was supposed to leave to Australia in like May. So
Clever mother.
Yeah.
Clever.
I know. So that didn't work out. Ended up going to Ozark and it was great. Started off as
great.
there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So went to Ozark, started off as a music major, and then that changed. Ended up with a biblical communications degree and a music minor. So I guess it worked out because it's kind of what I'm doing now. Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and
using both.
I think you have a deep desire and also a passion to communicate biblical truth. And I think one of the things that I think Ozark, although it's not perfect in any way, I think it did a good job of exposing you to, I think, that path.
Yeah.
And I think DeFazio's wife, what's her name?
Beth. Yes.
Is amazing.
She is
And you
amazing.
came at such a cool time when she stepped up and started just, I mean, one of like the first times she spoke at chapel, I happened to be there, and it was so good. And I just remember thinking, where was this?
Yeah.
Like, where was this? Because she's amazing.
She's great.
It's
Yeah.
very cool that's something that even is allowed now, and that they're pushing and
Right.
that they're pushing for people to even think that could be a possibility in the future. Because I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
And I even listening and talking to you guys, because we went to lunch yesterday, I loved how you were like, I actually enjoyed talking to junior hires and like teaching them, and I was stoked to help. Like, you were like, I surprised myself, and I was like, I love that. I love to hear that.
And
So,
yeah, I loved it. And then we graduated in May, and
I've been married for 2 years
Have
now.
been married for 2 years now. Yeah, that's crazy.
2 years.
It feels like we met yesterday, but we've been together since we were babies.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's how it goes.
And graduated in May, and then went to Kenya, and we're there for the whole summer, working with Missions of Hope International, and that was awesome. I feel like a little part of my heart's still there, and it's always probably going to be there. And then
We have a little fur baby.
yes, we have a child. Is our dog. Yes.
Is this the Labrapoodle? What's it?
Golden,
The golden
doodle.
doodle.
Lapapoodle.
Lapapoodle.
No, golden doodle. Yeah, I wish he was a lapapoodle. A tiny boy. He's 65, 70 pounds.
Fat.
He's a big boy.
You guys must
Yeah.
love him well.
We do.
My or his grandparents love him well.
Yes, they do.
We said feed him wet food once a week, and they said we thought you said every day. We were like, he's been getting wet food every day, and every
like
single one of
every
his
meal.
meals for 2 months. Like,
fat
He's
and
fat.
spoiled and
Yeah.
happy.
That's good.
It's a good time.
So let's do a little bit of a rewind then, because I think one of the things that I think for a lot of our people, one of their first exposures was you guys back in May, kind of praying over you and being excited that you graduated, and then you were taking the step. And there's a huge part of your hearts that are still on the mission field. Part of why your job's that, even just having an international family and like having people that your dad was a missionary to Texas.
Yeah.
Like that's what he
Yeah.
was. So like that's a deep part of your DNA. And thinking through my wife and I's relationship, like going to a foreign country and living somewhere for multiple months without all of the natural amenities and everything would be very challenging and a very different like approach. So what was it like? I mean, obviously you have a little bit of history in Mexico, probably not growing up with what you have now.
Right.
And Luke, you grew up in Missouri, and so, that's probably a very different experience. So what was it like? I mean, you went to Indianapolis, you did some training, but then you get over there, and what were you doing? Like, what was it like? What were your houses like? Like, what was the daily routine?
Yeah. So we were sent with Christian Missionary Fellowship International. That's CMFI. I always forget the I.
The laptop
And
self-destruct.
yeah. So they trained us, went to Indianapolis, did some training there a week before. And then we went to Nairobi, Kenya, and we were there for 8 weeks working through an organization called Missions of Hope International. And they're amazing. They have the four pillars within their organization, which is
educate, empower, restore, redeem.
yes. And so educate, they have schools and schooling systems in the slums of Nairobi. And so they have schools for the kids that are in extreme poverty that can't go to school. So that's their main focus in how to like go into the community.
We're not just talking about English, we're talking about overall education, right?
Right. Yeah. So schooling, and then they have clinics. They want to have a clinic in each school potentially. Right now, there's only a couple of clinics, probably like 2 or 3. But that's a way also to reach out into the community. It's free
Medical
for
care.
them. For any of the kids and their parents that go to the school, it's free. If you're in the community, it's like $1.
Or they do community relief efforts every once in a while.
So they have the clinics, and then they have what was the third one?
Empower,
Restore. So that's
social work relationships.
the social work relationships. The social workers in each of the centers, which is like the schools, go out into the community. They build relationships with the community. They go out and seek out the parents of the schools whenever the kids are not there. They help them. They live life alongside of them. They literally just live life with everyone in the community, alongside with churches. Each center has a church where the community can go to church there. That's like each Sunday, they teach them the word. That's like their main priority. And then Empower, they also offer a microfinance program to the community that teaches them about saving, teaches them about anything about money, because they are in extreme poverty. They've never had safety nets. They've never had anything.
Yeah.
So
and this is where like you buy them a couple chickens or a goat,
right,
or like something very small
right,
that would seem minuscule to us, but provides cheese
right,
or continual eggs,
right,
and then they create a business or some sort of self-sustaining thing off of that minor investment.
Yes, exactly. And that's what they do, and it's like super cool because the lifestyle there and the mindset is like, if you're not hustling, you're gonna die. Like every day they
survival.
go out, it is survival, and every day they go out and they try to figure, what can I make money from today? How can I succeed today? How can I bring food to the table today? And so a lot of people have small businesses. Most people there are hustling and have their own business, or they're trying to figure out how to go out into the community and have that for themselves. So you can talk.
It's not like crazy, but I mean, it's a Blood Diamond with you guys ever watch Blood Diamond? It's from Africa, but it's a movie that he has a line in it that I always think about where he says, "No one cares about Africa. Their soil is red with the blood of the efforts," and I think he says of the efforts of the man and the suffering of the weak. And I remember just thinking like, and I remember like you guys going over there and talking about like survival things and like talking about this minor things that would affect our lives are major things over there. And there's no guarantees. Like there's no guarantees on, you know.
And because a lot of like where the schools and everything are too started in Mathare Valley, which is one of the largest slums in Kenya. And so a lot of their
about like how big?
It's 3 miles. It's 3 miles long.
There you go. That's what I need.
Yeah,
because like I hear slum and I hear like the one street in L.A. You know what I mean? Like this is
no. It's a 3 mile long slum, and Missions of Hope has 14 schools within that slum, all in
give you an idea.
3 miles
regions.
like square.
Give you an idea.
Yeah.
Mount Vernon is 2 miles long, so because that's how long the exits are between the exits. So
so
that's
very
longer
large
than the
region.
business loop.
Yeah.
Like, it's huge.
Yeah.
So.
And then they've started going out into rural areas as well. So where we were was urban poor. So it's in a city of extreme poverty, and going just 20 minutes, then you're just in normal, beautiful Kenya where it's
goodness
rich and affluent and just modern and normal. So it's like a very strange dynamic of what you expect, but also not what you expect at all.
In Egypt, they had this place when I went that had an explanation for that. I'm wondering if it's similar to this, where all of the affluent homes built around where the servants lived, and the servants would live in the center, and those quarters now became kind of like the slums because so many people were stuffed into this small space. So now that there's not slavery anymore or servitude, but that now is just known as, if you live in this area, it's the lower end, whatever. So that's where all the missionaries there choose to live, because they'll just go live in the center of that because there's so many people that are hurting. So. Yeah. And I don't know if there's an explanation for that, but it was kind of cool because you could look geographically and like literally draw the line, and they're like, this is the colonization line. Like, this is where everything was, and this is why the slum exists here. Yeah. You're like, what? Like 200 years ago? Like, that's insane. So kind of crazy.
It really was. And just the diversity within it as well. There's 44 tribes in Kenya, and more than half are all within Nairobi of the different.
Are they different dialects of languages? Are they
all of them have their own? So everyone in Kenya speaks probably 3 to 6 languages. Their mother language, their tribe language, Swahili, English, and then some of them even know
French,
other
Creole,
tribes.
Other tribes' languages.
Yeah. So
the dialects, like if say you speak Swahili, is the dialect a break off of Swahili? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So is this like Louisiana to Seattle?
No, it's like completely
Chang.
different. And there's also that.
Yeah.
But mother tongue,
a lot.
like tribal language and Swahili are completely different words.
Because I was trying to
completely
think, like, is it Australia versus British? Is
no,
it British versus...
it's completely different.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like within the same like sounds. Like to us, sitting there, we would not have known that they weren't speaking Swahili.
But you know, like English in Britain and stuff, even though it's same, like they describe things better, like a toasty or like fish and chips.
No, this is a completely different language.
You know what I mean?
We'd be sitting there and be like, oh, I don't know, they're talking in Luo now. And you're like, oh, okay. Are you guys Luo? And they're like, yeah, he is, but he'll have to translate for us. And it's like, oh my gosh, you're translating Swahili, English, Luo, Kamba, like all the different.
So does your language like show your allegiance, like what language you choose? Because like when I went to Ukraine, if you chose to speak Ukrainian, you were choosing to say you were a separatist. But if you chose to speak in Russian, you were claiming that Ukrainian was part of the motherland. And so whichever language you chose revealed kind of your affiliations, your associations. Wasn't sure if they're like dialects and stuff, if you like spoke your mother language.
Yeah, because there are still, like, if you were to look up tribes in Kenya, there are still, like, maps off of, like, this is where this tribe is, this is where that tribe is. And especially within rural Kenya, you would speak your mother tongue in the tribe. But in Nairobi, in such a modern and urban area, most people speak Swahili, but they'll still know their mother tongue because they grew up in their tribe.
And sometimes they'll know, like, if you're working with a lot of Luos, they will know their own tribal language, and it would benefit them to learn some of the Luo language, their tribal language. So it's not, they just kind of learn whatever's around them and what would help them. So if they're able to learn Luo and they're able to learn Kamba and they're able to learn Luya, they will. They're like, cool, it just helps me communicate with people that might not know as much Swahili.
Yeah, and then she
or-
also mentioned that there's like a really modern version called Shang, which is English and Swahili combined that only like younger generations understand. So there was a time
This is like
when,
if you're a gamer.
Yeah.
You know the.
yeah, it's like
You know the-
completely different. So we'd be sitting there and literally they had to translate from Swahili, Shang, and then the tribe of the person that we were talking to. So one would interpret the Shang, one would interpret the Swahili, and the other one would interpret the tribe language.
That
Yeah.
sounds
All
like
the-
a great way to miscommunicate.
Yeah. So all of us were just like, what are they
Well,
saying?
because
I
some of
know.
this language stuff, it really is kind of like, say you went and visited a grandparent or an uncle
Yeah.
or an aunt in Mexico. Like, you wouldn't just walk in there and demand they speak
Right,
English, right?
right.
Like, they would immediately be
Right.
like, why are you talking in English?
Yeah.
Like, you're in Mexico.
Yeah.
And it's not that it's insulting, but you know that they would prefer you
Right.
to speak in
Speak in their-
Spanish.
right.
And I just was wondering if there was any of that too, where like you go into a certain neighborhood and you know you're in the Maasai or whatever it is, and you're like, we're gonna speak this dialect here because
Yeah.
that's what they would prefer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And any opportunity that we had to speak Swahili, we would. And they all kind of understood Swahili, and they had definitely understood the basic Swahili we knew. It's like we didn't know very much. So anytime we had the opportunity to speak to them in Swahili, we would. But it's also they respect just visitors in general. It's like obviously they respect Americans because it's like you're American, but just visitors in general that are coming to their home, they're like catering to you.
Yeah.
So they're like, you guys
Very
speak English?
hospitable.
Okay, we will speak English
Yeah.
then.
Oh,
And so it was awesome. Like we didn't have to use Swahili a lot, and we still tried. They would say thank you, and we would reply like asante sana, which is like thank you in their language, and they would always like say thank you again in their language and in Swahili. And so
Yeah, and it was fun too, like because what we did every day was we were paired with a social worker at the schools. So Kayla and I got to be at the same center. I also got to go into microfinance as well, like alternating weeks with them.
Because that's one of
So,
the things you're passionate about.
Yeah. So what we'd do every day is we'd show up at our center, go out in the community with our social workers, just meet people. We were in the classrooms a lot doing devos and lessons and teaching. And so we'd meet a kid and then they'd be like, all right, let's go meet their parents.
Yep.
Get to go see them, pray over them, invite them to church. Salvation is huge. Always asking if they're born again, if they've accepted Jesus. If not, let's talk
If they
about
want
it.
to, yeah.
Would you want to? Like, we have a church on Sunday. You can come and be with us. So that's what we did every day.
evangelism.
Yeah, and so we were each paired with a
basics,
social worker, and it was really fun because her social worker, we got to learn a lot about the tribes because her social worker was Kamba, and mine was, I got a Luo name.
Luo.
And so then going out in the community, and they would start talking, they'd be like, oh, they're Luo, they're your brother. And we'd be like, brother. And
So
they'd
they
be
gave
like,
us, my social worker was Kamba, and she gave me a Kamba name because she's like, you're my sister. And so like, I would say Mwende, my name is Mwende. And like the people in the community would be walking and they'd be like, hey, Mwende. Because like they remember that more than Kayla or stuff like that. So they would just like wave at you, and it's just
yeah,
like cool.
it
They're
was
like,
just a really cool way
other-
to build
the bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like other people that would be like, yeah, my name's Mwende. And they'd be like, oh, you are Kamba. I am Kamba too. We are sisters. Or we are brothers.
See,
you know?
and that's,
so that
that's
was like
the
super
type of
cool.
stuff that you realize the tribal stuff is really, really cool.
Right.
Do they use the Boma language over there? That's for smaller, but it's family. The Boma means family, I guess, in the Maasai tribe.
Oh,
And
in the
so-
Maasai tribes for
tribe.
sure. Yeah, but not where we were.
That's I was wondering if that was more of a universal, if it was more just for that tribe.
Right.
And so as kind of a clarification, because we've had Eric and Maurice White that
Yeah.
do a lot of work over there in Kenya, and they have very similar but very different stories because they're way more out in the bush.
Right.
So less slum work, less social
It's
work,
very
more just like
different.
first contact.
Right.
You know, like,
Yeah.
hey, can we come say hi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We'll be back next week. You
Yeah.
know, like that type of thing. So you know, there's some really cool things that I think. Listening to you guys talk, you were nervous about being on or whatever. You guys are so passionate about some of this stuff. It takes you like 30 seconds. You're like, oh yeah, we can talk forever. Coming back off the trip, like you've had a little time to reflect.
Yeah.
Like, what's sticking with you? Like, what are things that you're like, golly, if I could take somebody from Kingsway and transport them over there and just let them see this scene, or like understand this concept, or let God use them, or recognize that this is the more important, or this is less important than you think. What would you hope that someone would hear you say, or what do you think would be the most impactful for someone in Kingsway? And I know that's a difficult question. You can take mine. I have a couple thoughts from my trips, but I want to hear yours.
I think for me, one, coming from my own background and like where I grew up and experiencing some poverty, but it doesn't look the same. It's very different as what we experienced this summer. I've always been passionate about missions because it's like God isn't just a God of America. God isn't just a God of Mexico. It's like God is so much more bigger than you know and you think and you could possibly ever imagine. And our brains, our human minds are limited to what we know, the knowledge and the words and the experiences. And that's what you put God in. You put him, it's not even inside of a box, but it's like it's inside of your mind. But God is outside of that. He is, you can't contain it. And I've always been passionate about missions because it's a mosaic. Like when you meet other people, it puts together a picture of God more clearly.
Absolutely.
When you meet people from different parts of the world, it shows you a bigger picture of God that you had no idea about because you're limited to your own life and your own experiences. And I just love that. I got to see a different God that I have never seen before being there. And something that I've been struggling with being at Ozark and even like after graduating and was my faith. It's like, God, I know I believe in you. I know who you are, but I don't know exactly everything else around it. You know, and I feel like that is the Christian walk in our faith. It's the deconstruction of things, and then we build it back up, and we deconstruct again in a different season, and we build back up. And the foundation of believing in God doesn't move, but everything around it kind of becomes, deconstructed and build up again in different seasons of our life.
Absolutely.
And that's how we grow, and that's how we keep growing in our relationship with Christ. But in this season, coming out of Bible college and just having all of this knowledge, but also questions and being like, God, what do I believe about these things? Like, show me the things that are true and then guide me in the things where it's a little bit more, And so I was just struggling so much with faith and what that looked like. And whenever we went to Kenya, something that I told the social workers that we met and that we were with, the very last day they did like a little going away party for us. We got to talk with them. They got to encourage us one by one. We got to thank them and encourage them in their work. And something that I said is I was coming here struggling with my faith because in America, I think I had lost my vision of who God was. I think the church and I think Christians don't really know what God looks like to them anymore in America. Like sometimes we get lost in the day-to-day and the routine. We have everything to get distracted with here. We have money, we have homes, we have security. Like even whenever we're struggling, we're not struggling. Like we're okay.
Yeah, we don't need God.
We don't need God. And I was like, I feel like that's what I've been struggling. And then I came here and I told him and I was like, and I wanted to see God. I've been wanting to see God in America for these past 4 years and he's present. Don't get me wrong. But I was like, but then I came here and I saw God in everything. I saw God in you guys. I saw God in the kids. I saw God in the people. I saw God in your devotion to him and their lives are one with God. Like everything they do is living, breathing, eating God. And I was just like, I had never experienced a community that is so in tune with the presence of God to the point there it's like, you cannot not see God there. And I just think that's such an incredible thing that I walked away just having another piece of that mosaic that brings together this image of God for me and just being able to see it through their eyes and their culture and this people that I was just like, I don't want to leave.
Yeah.
On the last day, I was like, please just leave me here. I just want to stay here.
You ever heard the illustration of the 4 blind men touching an elephant and trying to convince everyone that it's not one item? So it's like some guy's holding an ear, some guy's holding a leg, some guy's holding a tusk, and none of them know that they're all holding the same animal. And so they're trying to convince, nah, you don't have, I feel like when you go on mission work, that's how God's vision grows. Like you show up and they're like, look at this piece of God that we've had.
Right.
And you're like, I had no idea that was included. I thought I knew the wholeness of what God is, but God is so much bigger than what our 2 hands can hold. And there are elements of that whether it's been in Latin America or it's been in East Europe or whether it's been, Northern Africa and Egypt, for me, that's always the thing I come back with. Where I'm sitting with his family in the slums of of Cairo that haven't had one convert in 2 years, and the lady's crying and going, "Are we doing what God's supposed to do? Can you tell me that we're doing?" I'm like, if you're not doing it, I don't know what you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
in my mind, I'm going like, you're exactly where you're supposed to
Yeah.
be. The soil is just being tilled. That's
Yeah.
what you're doing. You're tilling the soil. Who knows who will plant the seeds, but you are tilling soil. Just believe that you are. But, those are the types of conversations that when you come back, you're like, what faith do I have?
Right.
Like, I'm angry we haven't had a baptism in 3 weeks. Yeah, maybe I should just chill out. And just believe that God is bigger and that my faith isn't always reflected in the ways that I feel like I can touch, see, and hold, that the world is a large place. I love that reflection. And your passion comes out that you want to see people experience that here. You want them to experience what it's like to hold God, see God, feel God. And that's, I don't know. You'll lead worship, you'll teach lessons, you'll invoke that environment. Absolutely love that. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I just think like similarly to what she said and just giving like examples, like they're just so, God and life are intertwined. It's not
Separation.
like one of the loan officers that I was with, every single day she got off of work, she stopped at the church to be in a meeting, to pray, to fellowship, and then she would go home every single day.
They also don't get home until like 10 p.m. and they don't sleep. I'm like,
like it's just
Cairo has school for kids till midnight. They have different rotations. They like start at 3 p.m. and go to midnight because that's when their parents work.
Yeah.
Because they have like 2 or 3 different shifts. So like there are multiple times that like we were getting into like go to sleep and the kids were like just getting home from school and we're like, sorry, what?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's crazy. The world is just a different place at times.
Yeah, and it's just being able to see like the power of prayer and what it does whenever you like, yes, we saw like incredible healings and like got to see lives transformed because of the way that our social workers prayed or the consistency or being able to like join them in that. And we saw amazing things, but also just to see what your life looks like whenever you're completely steeped and saturated and talking with God and communing with him 24/7. Like we get to go to the Devos and the teachers would meet every morning before they go to class and they would say like, today we're praying over our student spouses. They
These
are
kids are
in
like-
kindergarten through 5th grade. And they're like, we just want to make sure that like every aspect of their life is covered. And that's the aspect that we're covering today. Like, what do you guys have to like say? Like, how would you like speak into those kids? And we're just like, I don't know. You're so young. I don't know. So I don't know. It's just been really incredible to see. And I think like an aspect of God that I think I saw this summer is just the kindness of him just through the people and the hospitality and the love that they share and they show, and being able to walk into someone's house that has absolutely nothing and they run over to their neighbor just to get a chair for us to be able to sit down. And we're like, no, we're okay, we promise. And they're like, no, sit. And like make us food. And we got to go visit a woman who made us omena, which is little tiny fish that you eat head and all. And then the next day she made big fish, which you eat head and all, eyes,
I've been
spine.
vegetarian for like 10 years. As it was going down, I was like, in Jesus' name, here we go.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It was rough, but
you ate him too.
I ate
You
it.
are brave.
I
Oh
ate
my
it.
gosh.
I wasn't okay for like a week and a half, but I ate it.
One of my friends from college went to Africa in the middle of his Ozark thing, and that's where I learned what double Dutch was, because he got malaria and lost like 25 pounds and almost died. And we talked on the FaceTime, and he was like, bro, I'm holding a bucket while sitting on a bucket.
No.
And this is the worst
No.
I have ever felt in my entire life. I was
Oh my
like, I will
gosh.
never go to Africa.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's so cool because they have like a saying, like the more visitors you have, the more blessed you are. Not even like American visitors, but just in general. And so whenever we went back to this woman and we went back 2 days in a row and she cooked for us and she was almost in tears just saying like, I know God loves me because he's allowed me to host you guys twice. And it was just like, oh my gosh, like you are doing, like you are such an example. Like she had the craziest story and was so kind and was so nice. And we would dance and we sang and we had a worship service after we got done eating. We just started singing songs in Swahili that we knew and some in English. And like that's just what we did and that's what they do. And it was just really amazing to see people's lives that are fully connected to God.
Well, that is amazing.
Yeah.
I love getting a chance to interview you guys and just getting to hear a little bit of your hearts. And I am super excited for the upcoming things that we have planned. I know Luke you and I have been talking over this last week just about some of the things that you're excited to get going and things that you're excited to offer when it comes to local trips or even international trips over the next year, and even just opportunities inside our local community to kind of step out, and then supporting the mission partners we already have in just a more intentional way through prayer and connection. And I think our people are really going to benefit from that. And I think our mission partners will feel more connected, which is good. And I know, Kayla, you and John and the team are playing on Wednesdays, and it starts last week, I think, when this comes out. But, it starts very soon, and you guys have, I know there's a lot of excitement and energy building, and there's some anticipation that maybe this year will be kind of the things actually getting back to close to normal, and these kids will actually get a chance to connect, because they're desperate for it, if I'm being honest. I can't imagine having this happen in the middle of my school years, where like 2 years of your life basically are just the weirdest antisocial.
The blip.
It's like, yeah, seriously. Yeah. And Thanos 2 years.
I know. But now we're back.
So, well, I take the opportunity, if you're listening to this podcast, if you would, to pray for Kayla and Luke as they start their ministry. Pray for their marriage. Pray for them personally. You can pray for the Lapapoodle if you want. Golden Doodle. What's his name?
Odie. His name's Odie.
Oh, yeah.
Little Otis.
Otis.
You need a Garfield. No.
Maybe.
Don't tempt us.
Maybe.
So, pray for them, encourage them, come up at church and say hi. And I'm sure we'll have them on again. And I know the Bless the Blessed campaign is coming up in November, and Luke and I are going to be working with trying to get some people together for the podcast and that. I know that we'll probably be able to draw Kayla in if we do some Chosen episodes to get her to give her thoughts. Have you watched any of The Chosen? Okay. Well, the third season's
Yes,
very
I
You
know.
cried through The Chosen. Is
Oh
one
my
like
gosh.
Cry every episode, every
That
5
first
seconds.
one where it's like, Mary.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. Gets me every time.
oh, and then when he makes the fart noises with the kids, I'm always like,
you're like-
Jesus makes fart noises. He does. So, well, as always, if you'd like to hear more from them, or you have questions for them, or you'd like to, even figure out ways that you could support some of the organizations that they partner with, or figure out something about these microloans, because there are tons of opportunities to do that. As always, leave a comment or send us an email. We'll get in contact with you. If you haven't subscribed and you're looking forward to more content, you always can do that on the YouTube channel, or leave us a review on any of the podcast apps. As always, thanks so much for listening, Mom. I appreciate you. And
I'll send it to my mom too.
thanks so much for coming on the podcast, guys, and sharing a little bit about your trip. And I'm excited to see what God has planned over the next years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have a great and glorious day, Lord. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.